Good day, everyone. I am Ellen Rosie Venzuelo, your pre-service teacher for today's video, and we will be summarizing the topics being discussed in AT 305 or the Assessment Learning 2. So, we begin by defining assessment. What is assessment? So, assessment is an ongoing process of identifying, gathering, organizing, and interpreting quantitative and qualitative information about what the learners know and can do. So, basically, assessment is about measuring and evaluating the progress and performance of the students in a specific period of time. It is also about how they were able to acquire the knowledge and how they are going to demonstrate the skills they have developed during the teaching and learning process. So in assessment, we have different types. We have the formative assessment and the summative assessment. So when we say formative assessment, it is assessment that occurs during the teaching and learning process. So in this assessment, there is an immediate feedback between the teachers to the student and the students to the teachers, which helps teachers to modify their techniques and strategies being used to be able to suit the learning needs of the students. So on the other hand, when we say summative assessment, it is assessment that occurs after the teaching and learning process. When we say after, it is about what the student have mastered and acquired knowledge during the teaching and learning process. So it is the mastery of the subject matter. Now, in assessment, there are three domains of learning. So these three domains are being put into consideration. First is the cognitive, which refers to the mental skills of the students and can also be classified as the knowledge. Next is the attitude or the growth of feelings and emotional areas of the students can also be considered as the attitude. And the lastly is the psychomotor or the manual or physical skills of the student. So all of these three domains are being put into consideration when creating an assessment for the students. Then, in Ed 305, actually, it focuses more on the performance assessment, while in Ed 302 or the assessment learning 1, it focuses on the written works. So, what is performance assessment? Performance assessment is an assessment that engages students in activities and tasks that requires application of knowledge and skills through creating a presentation or a product. So in performance assessment, it is about how students demonstrate all their understanding, all their acquired knowledge in a specific subject area to be able to create or innovate. So when we say create, it is making nothing into something. While when we say innovate, it is about making something into something. So in innovate, there is already a thing that needs to be improved to create another thing. Well, when we say creating, it is that there isn't really a thing, like nothing. You come from nothing to be able to create something. So this is the focus of performance tasks. They allow students to be creative, to make something out of nothing. So in performance assessment, it is classified into two, which is the products and the performance based tasks. So examples of products are poem for in language area or collage. So the products differ depending on the subject area. And example of performance-based tasks are presentation, multimedia presentation. It also depends on what the area or the subject area requires students to do. Then, we also have other forms of assessment that is actually cannot be synonymously used in performance assessment. So, these assessment are alternative assessment and authentic assessment. So, when we say alternative assessment, it refers to the methods that differ from a conventional paper and pencil test. So, example of this is observation, projects, portfolios, and others. So, authentic assessment, on the other hand, involves direct examination of students' ability to use knowledge to perform a real-life task. So, grading. Now, let's proceed to grading. So, it is important that the assessment being done to the student would also be graded. So when we say grading, it is an understandable data that serves as an evidence to the student's performance. It is also a record that is used to communicate students' performance to the parents. So it is very important because grading serves as a record, as evidence and understandable data on the performance of the students. It can be in the form of letters, numerical numbers, or the what we call pass and fail, depending on what the school use or the educational system use. So we have in grading performance assessment, we have rubrics, checklists, and rating scales. So each type of grading has its own standards that is being agreed upon by different teachers or faculties and administration that is used as a basis for grading or recording the students' performance. So all being incorporated in rubric, checklist, rating scales are being agreed upon by other faculties or teachers. So in rubrics, we have analytic rubrics and holistic rubric. So when we say analytics rubric, it is more detailed. So the aspects or the concepts in analytic is detailed. So students are graded based on the details provided on how they should perform. While on holistic rubrics, it is more on a generalized, a single table in which there are different criteria on how students are being assessed. In checklists, on the other hand, we have procedure checklists, which more on the process of a action or a work being done by the students. Then next is the product checklist, which refers to the product or which evaluates product created by the students. And the behavior checklist that evaluates how the attitude of the students, how he interact and communicate with other teachers and students, other co-students. Then self-evaluation, which is used to evaluate themselves. So aside from those, we also have growth reference, criterion reference, and norm reference. So when we say growth reference, it shows the individual growth of the students. So meaning that students themselves evaluate themselves. It can also be referred to as the independent student reference. Then the criterion reference uses criteria to evaluate students' performance. So there is a specific, not specific, but a standardized criteria which is also agreed upon by different individuals or different teachers, faculties to prove its validity and reliability. Then next is the norm reference, which is comparing students' results. So this norm reference is like somewhat evaluating the overall performance of the class by comparing each student's results. Then we also have the DepEd Order number 8 series of 2015. This is the policy guidelines on classroom assessment for the K-12 basic education program. So in this DepEd order, it tackles about assessment, classroom assessment, how it should be done, why it is needed, and also provide important information on how students are graded, especially in today's education, in today's Philippine education, which the government incorporate the K-12 program. So students now are being evaluated differently. There are three, or it is divided into three aspects. We have the written work, the performance task, and the quarterly assessment. That has these three has their respective percentage in each subject area. For example, in PE and TLE, the performance task has a higher or more percentage required than in written work and quarterly assessment, because PE and TLE is a subject area wherein students are really required to demonstrate their skills developed and the skills that they acquired during the teaching and learning area. Another example is on the languages subjects, which has a which there is also different percentage between the written work, the performance task, and the quarterly assessment. So there is already a balance on how students should be recorded and graded, so that all the learning objectives and competencies are met. And that would be all. So overall, assessment is very important, so for both the teacher and the students. It measures it measures the progress and the performance of the students in a specific period of time, while on the teachers, it allows the teachers to be guided on to measure their effectiveness as a teacher. Aside from that, assessment also gives an important role for the parents to be cooperative in the learning of their students. So that would be all, and thank you. See you on the next video. Bye.